You walk up to a used EV. Clean paint, low miles. The seller hands you the keys and says, "Look, it's showing 280 miles of range. Battery's perfect." You look at the screen. 280 miles. Looks great. You just got lied to, and the car did it for them. Here's the thing most people don't understand about electric vehicles. In a gas car, the fuel gauge tells you exactly what's in the tank. You've got a quarter tank, you've got a quarter tank. Simple. In an EV, the range estimate isn't measuring the battery directly. It's the car's computer making a guess based on how the car was driven over the last few days, the last few weeks. And sellers know this. There's a trick called hypermiling. You drive slow. You use every bit of regenerative braking. You avoid the highway. You baby the car for a week straight. And the computer, believing this is how the car always gets driven, pumps up that range estimate to make the battery look healthier than it actually is. So the 280 miles you're seeing, that number could vanish the second you merge onto the freeway. So what do you actually look for? You ignore the miles remaining completely. What you want is called the state of health, SOH. This is the real number. It compares the battery's current maximum capacity to what it had when it left the factory. A brand new battery is 100%. A degraded battery might be 78%, and that means you've permanently lost 22% of your range, forever. By 2026, most major brands have made this easier to find. Hyundai and Kia have a hidden battery health menu buried in the infotainment diagnostics. Ford has it on certain Mach-E and F-150 Lightning builds through the Ford Pass app. If the car doesn't show it natively, and plenty still don't, you spend $30, get an OBD2 Bluetooth dongle, plug it into the port under the dash, and use an app like Car Scanner or Leaf Spy to pull the real data straight from the battery management system. $30 could save you $10,000. Now let's talk about something that leaves no fingerprints, but absolutely destroys a battery over time. DC fast charging. Think of it this way. Your battery, at a chemical level, needs to absorb energy at a natural pace. Slow charging, plugged in overnight at home, is like a long, steady drink of water. Fast charging is like being force-fed through a fire hose. When you push enormous amounts of power into a battery cell too quickly, it generates heat. And heat, over time, causes something called dendrite growth. These are microscopic metallic spikes that form inside individual battery cells. They grow slowly, invisibly, until one of them bridges two parts of the cell it shouldn't and short-circuits it. You can't see dendrites. A visual inspection won't find them, but they are in there, aging the battery from the inside out every time that car sat at a supercharger or a DC fast charging station. Here's the car care logic rule on mileage. A car with 50,000 miles that was charged at home every night is younger, chemically, practically, meaningfully younger than a car with 20,000 miles that spent its life at fast chargers. Mileage does not tell you the whole story. Charging history does. So here's what you check. On most modern EVs, you can pull up a charging history screen in the infotainment system. What you're looking for is the ratio of DC charging sessions to AC charging sessions. DC is fast charging, the kind at public stations, superchargers, Electrify America. AC is level 1 and level 2, your home charger, a wall outlet, overnight charging. If that ratio is anywhere near 50-50, meaning half the charging sessions in this car's life were DC fast charges, consider that a yellow flag. If it's skewed higher than that toward DC, and the state of health we talked about is below 90%, that's a red flag. Walk carefully, or walk away. EVs have a reputation for being low maintenance, and compared to gas cars, they are. No oil changes, no timing belts, fewer moving parts. But here's what the marketing doesn't tell you. EVs are heavy, seriously heavy. A Tesla Model Y weighs around 4,400 pounds. A Ford F-150 Lightning tips the scales at over 6,000. That extra weight, mostly from the battery pack sitting low on the floor, puts forces on tires, brakes, and suspension components that those parts were never fully designed to handle. The inner edge tire wear problem. EVs eat tires differently than gas cars. The combination of that massive weight and instant torque delivery causes them to wear from the inside edge outward. And because that inner edge is hidden from view, most buyers never catch it until it's too late. Here's what you do. Turn the steering wheel all the way to one side, full lock. Now crouch down and look at the inner sidewall of the front tire. You're looking for any sign of feathering, cupping, or visible cord showing through the rubber. If the inner edge looks like it's been shredded, while the outer edge looks fine, that car has an alignment or suspension issue that's been ignored. Budget for 4 new tires and a full alignment immediately. The regen brake curse. This one surprises almost everyone. EVs barely use their physical brakes. They use the electric motor to slow down, a process called regenerative braking, which is great for efficiency. But it means the actual brake pads, rotors, and calipers can go months without doing any real work. In dry climates, this is mostly fine. But in Rust Belt states, Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, upstate New York, you have a serious problem. Brake calipers seize up from disuse. Rotors develop deep rust grooves that the pads can never clean off because they never make enough contact. The test is simple and slightly uncomfortable. During your test drive, find an empty road and do a firm, hard stop. Not a panic stop, but harder than you'd normally brake. You want to feel the physical brakes actually bite. If the car pulls to one side, seized caliper. If you feel grinding or a pulsing vibration through the pedal, corroded rotors. If the pedal goes soft before the brakes really engage, you may have a brake fluid issue on top of everything else. These repairs aren't catastrophic, but you can negotiate with them. Every problem you find is money back in your pocket at the bargaining table. This is the one most buyers completely skip, and it might be the most important check on this entire list. Your EV's battery isn't just a big box of cells. It's a chemistry experiment running at all times, and chemistry is extraordinarily sensitive to temperature. For a lithium-ion battery to operate at peak performance and age gracefully, it needs to stay at roughly 25 degrees Celsius. That's 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Not 90, not 40, 77. To maintain that temperature in summer heat, in winter cold, at highway speed, and during fast charging, the battery has its own dedicated liquid cooling system. It circulates a specialized low-conductivity coolant through channels in the battery pack, regulating temperature constantly. Here's your check. Open the frunk, or the hood if it's a rear motor layout, and look for the coolant reservoir for the battery thermal system. It will be clearly labeled, usually with a blue or green cap, often marked with a temperature or battery symbol rather than the standard engine coolant symbol. Look at 3 things. First, the level. Is it between the min and max lines? If it's at or below the minimum, that coolant went somewhere. Either it evaporated through a slow leak, or it's been partially consumed by a failing seal. Second, the color. Healthy battery coolant should be clear to slightly tinted, pink, blue, or green depending on the manufacturer. If it's murky, dark, rusty, or looks like chocolate milk, it's contaminated and has likely been neglected for years. Third, any visible residue around the reservoir cap or the hoses running into the battery pack. White mineral deposits or a crusty residue around fittings is a sign of a slow weeping leak. Why does this matter so much? Because a leak in the battery chiller circuit or a failed chiller pump is not a simple repair. The coolant itself is a specialized, low-conductivity formula that costs significantly more than standard engine coolant. And if the repair requires dropping the battery pack to access the damaged components, which it often does on pack-integrated designs, you're looking at labor bills that can exceed the value of the car. In some cases, insurers have written off EVs with thermal management failures as total losses. This is not an oil change. This is a $15,000 repair in the wrong scenario. Check the coolant. We're in 2026 now, and buying a used EV means dealing with something gas cars have never had. Software that stays loyal to the original owner, not to the car. The feature transfer problem. Several automakers have moved towards subscription-based software features, and when a car is sold, those features don't automatically transfer to the new owner. Before you finalize any purchase, sit in the car and verify, not assume, verify that the following features work under your account. Heated seats and heated steering wheel. Full autopilot or driver assistance package if the car has it. Any performance or range upgrades that were purchased as add-ons. On some platforms, these features are tied to the original owner's account and go dark the moment that account is removed. You could buy a Tesla with full self-driving on the window sticker and discover you now need to pay again to reactivate it. Ask the seller to demonstrate every paid feature actively, with their account logged out and the car reset to a guest profile. If something stops working when their credentials are removed, it's not included in the sale. The 12-volt battery nobody mentions. Here's a secret that costs EV buyers thousands of dollars every year in unnecessary panic repairs. Every electric vehicle, no matter how sophisticated, has a standard 12-volt battery, not the traction battery, a regular, old-school automotive 12-volt battery, usually hidden under a panel in the frunk or trunk. This battery powers all the low-voltage systems, the computers, the screens, the door locks, the charging port, the communication systems. When this battery gets weak, usually after 3 or 4 years, it doesn't fail cleanly. It causes the most confusing, terrifying cascade of symptoms you've ever seen. Ghost warning lights, random error codes, charging failures, drive unit warnings, suspension errors. The car might not start. The car might start and then throw a dozen warnings while driving. Owners have brought EVs to dealers convinced the drive unit was failing, a repair that can run $20,000, and the actual fix was a $200 12-volt battery replacement. Ask the seller when the 12-volt was last replaced. If they don't know, or if the car is more than 3 years old, make it a condition of the sale. Have them replace it before handoff, or knock the cost off the price. This is the cheapest insurance you can buy. All right, you've checked the battery health, the charging history, the tires, the brakes, and the coolant. Now it's time to actually drive it, and not just around the block. Drive it with intention. This is the Car Care Logic 3-step test drive. Don't skip any of it. Step 1. The 70 miles per hour stress test. Find a stretch of highway and hold 70 miles per hour for at least 5 minutes. While you're cruising, watch 2 numbers on the screen, the battery percentage and the miles remaining estimate. Here's what healthy looks like. Both numbers drop together at a proportional rate. Lose 1% of charge, lose roughly 3 or 4 miles of range. They move in sync. Here's what a tired battery looks like. The percentage drops faster than the miles remaining can keep up, or the range estimate suddenly jumps down in a way that feels disconnected from how far you've actually driven. What you're seeing is internal resistance. A degraded battery has to fight itself to deliver power, and it burns through charge doing it. This is something the state of health number won't always catch, but a real highway load will expose it every time. Step 2. The charging handshake. Drive to a public DC fast charger and plug in. Watch what happens in the first 60 seconds. A healthy car with a healthy port connects on the first attempt. The charge rate appears. The session starts. No fuss. If it fails to initiate, unplug, try again. If it takes more than 2 attempts to get a session going, that charging port is worn. The pins and contacts inside degrade over time and with heavy use. A port that won't handshake reliably isn't just annoying, it's a $1,500 repair, and it's the kind of problem that leaves you stranded at a charger at the worst possible moment. This test takes 5 minutes. It is non-negotiable. Step 3. The clunk test. This one's fast, but it exposes a very specific kind of abuse. Bring the car to a full stop. Shift into reverse, then immediately into drive, and give the accelerator a firm, deliberate tap. Not a full stop, just a quick, confident prod. Then, listen. A healthy drivetrain gives you nothing. Smooth, silent, clean torque transfer. If you hear a clunk, a single dull thud coming from under the car, that's worn splines on the motor output shaft. It's the calling card of a car that's been put into launch mode repeatedly. Hard launches are brutal on drivetrain components, and the damage accumulates quietly until that slack in the joint snaps shut under load, and you hear exactly what you just heard. Spline wear only gets worse, and when it finally fails, you're looking at a motor replacement, which is not a small number. One clunk is all you need to hear. So here's the bottom line. A well-maintained used EV is one of the best deals in the market right now. Low running costs, great reliability, incredible to drive. You just need to know what to look for, and now you do. State of health, charging history, inner tires, brakes, coolant, 12-volt battery, and the 3-step test drive. Run that checklist and you won't get burned. That's car care logic. Subscribe if you want more of this. Drop a comment with the EV you're eyeing, and we'll see you in the next one.